Critical Role's Darrington Press just released the quick start guide for their new game Candela Obscura. You can check out the link to the guide below, or if you hate reading, you can watch this video. Candela Obscura is a game about investigating the occult and strange magics in the city of New Fair. In this setting, a separate realm called the Flare is leaking into the dimension. This leads to the corrupting magic known as the Bleed that threatens to destroy humanity itself. Honestly, I think Candela's lore is the best thing about the game, and I'll definitely be making videos on it later. In Candela, players are investigators, part of their own circle within the Candela Obscura. This is the secret society responsible for investigating these strange magics. Now, the game itself uses a dice pool system of 6-sided dice. You roll the dice depending on your investigator's stats. Players always take the result of the highest die. It doesn't matter if you roll 2 1s and a 6, you're only looking at the 6. There are 4 options when you roll dice. If your highest number is between a 1 and a 3, that's a failure. Between a 4 and a 5 is a mixed success. You succeed, but at a cost, like you open a lock but a nearby guard hears you. Rolling a 6 is a complete success. You accomplish your goal with 0 consequences. Now, if you roll more than 1 6, that's a critical success. You accomplish what you wanted with a bit extra. Now, how do you know how many dice to roll? Well, that depends on your actions. Actions represent how good you are at certain tasks under pressure. There are 9 total actions in Candela Obscura: move, strike, control, sway, read, hide, survey, focus, and sense. Each of these actions are broken up into 3 large groups called drives. The 3 drives are nerve, cunning, and intuition. You can put up to 3 points into each action. You roll as many dice as you have points in an action. So if you have 2 points in sway, then you roll 2d6. If you have 0 points in an action, then you roll 2d6 and take the lowest number of the 2 dice. This means that if you have no points in an action, you should really let your other investigators handle it. You have such a high chance of failure that it's not really worth the risk, especially in high-stakes situations. But let's continue talking about drives. In Candela, drives are also a resource that you can use. You have a specific drive pool from your nerve, cunning, and intuition. By using drive on a roll, you can add an additional die. You can spend up to your maximum amount of drive on any roll, and it adds that many additional dice. Other players can also spend their drive to add a d6 to your dice pool, however they can only spend a maximum of 1 drive. But there's no limit to how many other investigators can give you drive. It is up to the game master's discretion though if other players can add drive to another roll. They have to be able to help you in some way. Each drive pool has a maximum, which is likely based on your investigator's role in the circle. Drive does not regenerate automatically, so it's a precious resource. So you must be asking, well, how do you get drive back? Well, there are 3 ways. One way is through character advancement, another is the circle burning their Candela Obscura resources after an assignment to refill their drive. The final way, and the easiest way, is with your gilded die. Now, I think that this is the most confusing thing about Candela, so bear with me. Some of your investigators' actions are gilded. This means one of your dice you roll for that action is always your gilded die. I recommend having a dedicated gilded die that is distinct from the rest. After you roll, you can choose to use the number rolled on the gilded die. When you do this, you regain 1 drive point in the drive related to that action. So if you're gilded in sway and choose to use the number rolled on that die, you regain 1 point in cunning. As an example, let's say you rolled a 4 on your gilded die and a 2 and a 6 on your non-gilded dice. You can take the 6 and get a complete success. Or you can use the 4 on your gilded die to regain 1 drive point. This is something you can only do with your gilded die on a gilded action. My gut feeling tells me that you want to be using your gilded actions as much as possible. Drive points are powerful and using your gilded die is a low bar. Additionally, as you level up your character, you can gild more actions. I think it's probably a good idea to have at least 2 drives with gilded actions in them. Getting all 3 seems to be the ideal because it would allow you to refill all your drives on your own. Your drive points are important for avoiding failures, but there is one other tool in your tool belt: resistance. For every 3 maximum points of drive, you gain 1 point of resistance. What does resistance do? Well, it's a reroll. You can reroll as many dice as you have points in an action. So if you have 2 points in sway and decide to use your resistance for cunning, that means I can reroll up to 2 dice. Now, you cannot reroll any additional dice you got from drive or from assistance by other players. Additionally, you must use the result of the new resistance roll unless you use another point of resistance. Essentially, resistance just allows you to reroll a certain number of dice. And hey, if you made it this far in the video and it's been helpful, consider subscribing, it really helps the channel. Moving on, each investigator in Candela also has unique abilities that stem from one of their 5 roles. face, muscle, scholar, slink, and weird. Those roles are broken into subclasses called specialties. Each role has 2 specialties. For instance, the slink has criminal or detective. However, as part of the Quick Start Guide, there is only 1 specialty for each role. Once the full game is released, I'll update this video with more specialties. Also, I need to talk about Candela Obscura's connection to games like Blades in the Dark, because honestly, when I first read the Quick Start Guide, I went, oh, this is Blades in the Dark. Candela Obscura's character sheet is structured a lot like Blades in the Dark. It borrows a lot of mechanics from the game and also other games like Monster of the Week. After rereading both other systems, I found quite a bit of overlap. I'm not going to get into all the parallels between the systems, but it's important to understand just how much parity there is in the TTRPG community. You take a rule or a gameplay mechanic you like, tweak it, and then add it to your own system. Therefore, I wanted to do a little bit of digging before I made any snap judgments. This is what I found. Stras Ekimovic, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, is one of the writers of the Illuminated Worlds system, along with their co-writer, Layla Edelman. Ekimovic was a game developer with Off Guard Games who put out one of my favorite TTRPGs of all time, Band of Blades. I actually talk about that game a little bit in this video right here. Now, Band of Blades uses the Forged in the Dark rule set, which was created by John Harper. There is a history here with these designers borrowing from Blades in the Dark. In fact, I think that's clearly intentional. The single city setting of New Fair heavily resembles Duskval in Blades. Taliesin Jaffe and Chris Lockey, who created the concept of Candela Obscura, I think pulled from some of their favorite games. Now, would I love to see them give more love to Blades in the Dark and other systems? Yes. Is this a full release? Hell no. But for right now, this just seems like a standard case of designers borrowing from designers, which is how the creative process works. Without the full game, it's impossible to tell just how similar Candela is to its contemporaries like Blades and Monster of the Week. My gut feeling is that it's more of a fusion between the two. Besides, if you really like those 2 games, they still exist out there in their full and completed forms. However, like I said at the beginning of this video, I think Candela Obscura's biggest strengths are its setting and the tone it provides. This is a game I think that roleplay heavy players and lore lovers will really be able to sink their teeth into. Now, if you want to hear more about great game systems, check out this video right here, and thank you for entering the dungeon.